The champagne glass in my hand suddenly weighed nothing at all. I stood in the kitchen doorway of my mother's house, watching Serena laugh into her phone while Mom leaned over her shoulder, both of them staring at a screen I couldn't see from where I stood. Then Serena's thumb moved, a casual flick, and I heard the notification chime from my own phone in my pocket. I pulled it out. The family group chat. Mom's message glowed at the top. "Please don't come. The family wants a drama-free wedding." And beneath it, immediate and bright as a neon sign, Serena had liked it. My sister had just publicly approved of my exclusion from an event I'd spent $47,000 funding. The kitchen suddenly felt too bright. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of my father's television in the next room, the way Serena's gold bracelet, the one I'd bought her for her birthday, clinked against her phone case as she set it down. Everything sharpened into painful focus, while something inside me went perfectly, dangerously still. My name is Valentina, I'm 31, and I'm a project manager. This is the story of how I stopped managing everyone else's life and started protecting my own. But first, I need to tell you how we got there, starting 6 months earlier when this whole nightmare began. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me where you're listening from, so I know I'm not alone. I should probably explain how we got here, though honestly, the signs were always there. I just chose not to see them. I've always been the reliable daughter, not the favorite. That title belonged to Serena from the moment she was born, but the one who solved problems. When Mom needed someone to coordinate her book club events, I built her a spreadsheet system. When Dad's business faced an audit, I spent 3 weekends organizing 7 years of receipts. When Serena got engaged last year, the first words out of Mom's mouth were, "Thank God Valentina will help plan everything." Not, "Will you help?" Just the assumption that I would, because I always did. For 6 months, I handled everything. Venue deposits, catering contracts, lighting designers, floral arrangements, invitation printing. Every vendor email came to my account. Every payment went through my card. I told myself it was temporary, that Serena would reimburse me after the wedding, that this was what families did for each other. But Serena never asked how much things cost. Mom never questioned whether I could afford it. And when I gently suggested maybe splitting some expenses, Serena just sighed and said, "Val, you're so good at this stuff. Can't you just make it work? You always do." That sentence should have been my warning. The only person who ever questioned this dynamic was my grandmother, Elena. She lived in a small cottage behind Mom's house, the same place she'd moved after Grandpa died. Every Sunday, I'd visit her there, sitting in her garden while she trimmed roses and asked me questions nobody else thought to ask. "Are you happy, mija?" she'd say, her weathered hands gentle on the stems. "Or are you just busy?" I never knew how to answer that. 2 weeks before that kitchen moment, something shifted. Mom announced she wanted to add a wedding week, a series of pre-events to impress Serena's future in-laws, brunches, spa days, a rehearsal dinner at the country club. She presented it casually, over coffee, like she was suggesting a new throw pillow. "It'll be beautiful," Mom said, her eyes bright. "Very elegant. Serena deserves to feel special." I did the math in my head. Another $15,000, minimum. "Mom, that's a lot to add this late. The budget's already stretched." Mom's smile tightened. "Well, we could always dip into Mother's emergency fund. She doesn't really need it right now." The air left my lungs. Grandma Elena's savings. The account she'd built over decades, protected fiercely, meant for medical emergencies or if she ever needed care. And Mom wanted to spend it on mimosas and spa robes. "Absolutely not," I said. Serena looked up from her phone for the first time. "God, Val, why are you being so difficult? It's not like Grandma's going anywhere. She's fine." That was 3 days before the text message. 3 days before I stood in that kitchen doorway and watched my sister approve of my erasure. I didn't confront them that day. I walked back to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and opened my banking app. Line after line of charges glowed back at me. Venue, $18,500 catering, $12,300 photographer, $4,800 florals, $3,200 DJ and music, $2,800 invitations and printing, $3,200 wedding cake, $2,500 rentals and decor, $4,000. The numbers blurred together until they stopped being expenses and started being evidence. I'd spent $47,000 on a wedding I was no longer invited to. That night, I drove to Grandma Elena's cottage. She was in her garden even though it was almost dark, her small frame bent over a rosebush. When she saw me, she straightened slowly, and something in her expression told me she already knew. "They sent you that message," she said, not a question. "How did you know?" "Because I heard your mother and Serena talking yesterday. They said it would be easier if you weren't there, easier to enjoy themselves without worrying about you hovering." Her voice cracked on the last word. I sank onto her garden bench. The wood was still warm from the afternoon sun. "I paid for everything, Grandma, every single thing." She sat beside me, taking my hand in both of hers. Her skin was papery soft, her grip surprisingly strong. "Mija, I've watched them do this to you your whole life. Take and never say thank you. I've watched it happen to me, too." Her eyes filled. "I kept thinking you'd stand up for yourself, but I should have stood up for you sooner." "It's not your fault. And it's not yours either. You hear me? Their cruelty is not your fault." We sat there until the stars came out. When I finally left, Grandma Elena walked me to my car and pressed something into my palm, a small silver key. "This is to my safe deposit box," she whispered. "If anything happens, if they try anything, you're the only one I trust." I closed my fingers around it. "Nothing's going to happen to you." "I know, because you're going to make sure of it." That was Monday. By Wednesday, I'd made my decision. By Friday, I'd executed it. That Friday evening, I sat at my laptop in my home office and began the process that would change everything. I started with the vendors. One by one, I opened my email and pulled up every contract. Catering, photography, venue, florals, lighting, DJ, cake designer, invitation printer. Every single agreement was tied to my name, my credit card, my approval. I drafted identical emails. "Due to unforeseen circumstances, I need to cancel this service effective immediately. Please confirm receipt and refund timeline." I didn't mention family drama. I didn't explain. I just stopped enabling. The catering company responded first. "Confirmed. Refund processing minus 10% cancellation fee." Then the photographer. "So sorry to hear this. Full refund coming within 5 to 7 business days." Then the florist, the venue, the lighting team. One by one, I watched the wedding my family had taken for granted dissolve into nothing. I felt no satisfaction, no vindictive joy, just a strange, settling calm, like finally setting down a weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten it wasn't part of my body. My phone buzzed once. The family group chat. Serena. "Val, can you confirm the final head count with the caterer? Mom wants to add 2 more people." I typed back. "You'll have to ask them yourself." 3 minutes later, my phone rang. Mom. I didn't answer. She called again, then Serena. Then both of them together, their messages piling up in panicked succession. "Valentina, what's going on? Yeah, the caterer says our contract is canceled? This isn't funny. Call us back right now." I turned my phone face down and drove to Grandma Elena's cottage, needing the one person who would understand what I'd done and why. She was making tea when I arrived, her small kitchen warm and fragrant. I told her what I'd done. She listened without interrupting, her eyes steady on mine. When I finished, she set down her teacup. "Good," she said firmly. "It's about time." "They're going to be so angry." "Let them be angry. Anger is what people feel when they lose control of you." She reached across the table. "I'm proud of you, Mija. For the first time in your life, you chose yourself." That night, back at my apartment, my phone didn't stop buzzing. Messages, calls, voicemails. My mother's voice turned from confusion to anger to something close to panic. "Valentina, you need to fix this. You're ruining your sister's wedding. How could you be so selfish?" Selfish. The word that had controlled me my entire life. The label they'd use whenever I hesitated, whenever I questioned, whenever I came close to putting my own needs first. But this time, it didn't land. This time, I recognized it for what it was: manipulation. I called one person, Mason Hill, an attorney who'd helped me with a contract dispute at work. I explained the situation, the uninvited text, the $47,000 in charges, Mom's attempt to access Grandma Elena's savings. "Do you have documentation?" he asked. "Every email, every receipt, every text message." "Good. I think we need to have a conversation with your family, a formal one." "They're coming back from their pre-wedding trip in 3 days." "Perfect. Let's meet them at the airport." I checked the family's shared calendar, the one Mom maintained obsessively and never thought to remove my access from. Their flight arrived Tuesday morning at 9:47 a.m., Terminal 2. The morning they were scheduled to return, I picked up Grandma Elena early. We arrived at the airport by 9:15, giving us time to meet with Mason and position ourselves near the baggage claim before their flight landed. She dressed carefully, wearing her good coat and the pearl earrings Grandpa had given her 50 years ago. She held my arm as we walked through the terminal, her grip steady. Mason met us near baggage claim, calm and professional. "Remember," he said quietly, "they'll likely try to make you feel guilty. Don't engage emotionally. Stick to facts." The arrival doors slid open. Passengers streamed out, dragging suitcases, checking phones. Then I saw them. Mom walked out first, her posture rigid with barely contained stress. Serena followed, her face tight. Damon, Serena's fiancé, trailed behind, looking at his phone. He'd been mostly silent throughout the engagement, more interested in his phone than the wedding drama. But today he looked genuinely uncomfortable with the confrontation unfolding. Dad brought up the rear, already checking out mentally. Mom spotted us first. Her expression cycled through confusion, then recognition, then something cold. "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said. "We don't need to do anything," Serena snapped. "You already sabotaged everything." Mason stepped forward. "Good morning. My name is Mason Hill. I represent Valentina and Elena in a matter requiring your immediate attention." He held out an envelope. "This concerns the financial exploitation related to wedding expenses and the attempted unauthorized access to Mrs. Elena's savings account." Mom's face went white. "Financial exploitation? That's ridiculous. Valentina offered to help." "Did she offer?" Mason asked mildly. "Or did you assume?" "She always helps with family things." "And was she invited to this particular family event?" Silence. Serena's eyes darted away. Mason handed Mom a second envelope. "These are copies of the messages uninviting Valentina from the wedding, along with documentation of the $47,000 in expenses she personally covered. We're seeking full reimbursement, plus legal fees." Mom tore open the envelope, her hands shaking. As she read, her face shifted from anger to something like fear. "This could ruin us financially." "Yes," I said quietly, "the way you tried to ruin Grandma Elena by taking her emergency savings." Grandma Elena stepped forward, her voice stronger than I'd heard in years. "You told my granddaughter she wasn't welcome at an event she paid for. You tried to take money I've saved my entire life. And you did it without shame, without hesitation, because you've never had to face consequences before." "Mother, you're being dramatic." "No." Grandma's voice cracked like a whip. "Dramatic is excluding your daughter from a family wedding. Dramatic is stealing from your own mother. I'm being honest, something this family hasn't been in a very long time." People were starting to stare. Mom hated scenes. Her cheeks flushed. "Can we please discuss this somewhere private?" "Why?" I asked. "So you can manipulate me in private the way you've done my whole life?" Serena finally found her voice. "You're really going to sue us? Your own family? You really uninvited me? Your own sister?" She had no answer for that. Dad finally spoke, his voice tired. "Val, we made mistakes, but this seems extreme." "Dad, you sat there and watched them do this to me. You always sit there and watch. That's its own kind of cruelty." Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or shame. Mason handed Serena a separate envelope. "This is notice that Valentina has been granted power of attorney over Elena's financial accounts. Any attempts to access those funds without Elena's written consent will be prosecuted." Serena clutched the envelope like it might bite her. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long. Mom's composure finally shattered. Valentina, please, we're family. We can work this out. Just tell us what you want. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone who'd spent decades wielding guilt like a weapon. Someone who'd taught me that love meant sacrifice, that family meant obligation, that my worth was measured in what I provided. I want you to understand something, I said. I'm done. Done being your safety net. Done paying for things you don't appreciate. Done pretending we're close when you only see me as a resource. So you're punishing us? No, I'm protecting myself. Mason handed over the final set of papers. You have 30 days to respond to these notices. Until this matter is resolved, you're prohibited from contacting either Valentina or Elena, except through legal channels. Mom's face crumpled. Serena wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara. Damon shifted uncomfortably. Dad just looked smaller somehow, like he was shrinking into himself. What are we supposed to do now? Mom whispered. I met her eyes one last time. Figure it out. The same way you expected me to. Then I took Grandma Elena's arm and we walked away. Behind us, I heard Serena call out, The wedding is in 2 weeks. We have nothing. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. Grandma Elena steady beside me, Mason following behind. And for the first time in my life, I felt the weight of their expectations lift off my shoulders. We didn't speak until we reached the parking garage. Then Grandma Elena stopped, turned to face me, and pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. Thank you, she whispered, for standing up for both of us. Thank you for teaching me I could. The legal settlement took 6 weeks to finalize. Once the full reimbursement and legal fees were paid, the restraining order on contact was lifted, though I maintained my boundaries. In the weeks that followed, the legal proceedings moved forward. Mason was right. Once we presented the documentation, Mom and Serena's attorney advised them to settle immediately. They reimbursed the full $47,000 plus legal fees. The wedding was postponed indefinitely. I heard through my cousin Marco, Dad's sister's son, who'd always stayed neutral in family drama, that they eventually had a small ceremony at City Hall, just immediate family. Serena and Damon had indeed gotten married at City Hall, with just Mom, Dad, and Damon's parents present. The marriage lasted less than a year. Marco said Damon couldn't handle the family dynamics and left. Last he heard, Serena's divorce was finalized last spring. I wasn't invited to that one either. I didn't mind. Grandma Elena's savings remained protected, locked down with controls that required 2 signatures for any withdrawal. Hers and mine. We made it official. I was her power of attorney, her healthcare proxy, the person who would make sure she was protected. Mom tried to reach out once, 3 months later, an email that started with Dot. I've had time to think and ended with, maybe we can have coffee sometime. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but because I recognized it for what it was. Another attempt to pull me back into the role they'd assigned me. Serena never apologized. Last I heard, she moved to another state. Dad sends awkward text messages on holidays. I respond politely but briefly. I don't hate them, but I don't sacrifice myself for them anymore either. I started volunteering at an advocacy center that helps older adults protect their finances from family exploitation. Turns out there are a lot of people like Grandma Elena, people who spent their lives building something, only to watch family members try to take it without asking. I help them set up protections, navigate legal systems, find their voice. It's the first work that's ever felt truly meaningful. Grandma Elena turned 82 last month. We celebrated in her garden, just the 2 of us, with tea and the lemon cake she makes that's never quite sweet enough. She told me about Grandpa, about the early years of their marriage, about choices she wished she'd made differently. I should have protected you more, she said, from your mother's expectations, from Serena's selfishness. You protected me the only way you could. You saw me when nobody else did. You taught me I mattered. She squeezed my hand. You always mattered, Mija. It just took you a while to believe it. I used to think love meant carrying everything for the people who claimed they needed me. I thought boundaries were selfish, that saying no meant failing. I thought family was supposed to feel like obligation, but real love, the kind that actually heals, never asks you to disappear so others can shine. Real love doesn't keep score. It doesn't demand sacrifice as proof. It doesn't uninvite you and expect you to keep paying. Walking away from my family wasn't the end of something broken. It was the beginning of something honest. It was choosing myself after a lifetime of choosing everyone else. And if there's one thing I'd tell anyone in a similar situation, you don't owe anyone access to your life just because you share DNA. Family is supposed to be a sanctuary, not a prison. And the moment it becomes the latter, you have every right to walk away. My family's choices didn't define me. My boundaries did.